Hey guys, welcome back to another Ultimate Bow class. Let's get started. Today, we're going to be working on some very fundamental blocks to warm up, and then we're going to be getting into some traditional striking and kata practice. So what we're going to do to start our class today for our warm-up is we're going to be working on some basics. So we're going to start this class off with some push blocks. We're just going to do them in some various angles so that we can get a good view. So to start, all we're going to do is work on our front push block, okay? So we're going to bring that bow across, sweep, push, okay? Now I want to make sure I'm stepping into that push, okay? Down, sweep, push. I'm pushing off this back leg. Down, sweep, push. Now remember, I'm blocking a blunt object with this one, so we're going to pick up the pace a little bit now. We want to really make sure that we get in good technique while we're getting a good warm-up too, okay? And push. Again, push. Moving around. Push. 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 Make sure we don't want to sacrifice technique, guys, okay? So we always want to make sure we have nice, solid technique. I like to exhale right when I'm making that block. Excuse me, guys. Always dropping that tip down, sweeping it across. We want to clear that head. If we block right here, guys, what happens? The bow recoil may come back and pop us in the face, okay? If it comes back and hits me in the shoulder, it won't hurt near as much. We want to make sure we're nice and smooth. I step into my block, guys, when I'm doing it, making sure that I have lots of force behind my block. Okay, I'm going to switch hands now. Sweep, push. Again, down, sweep, push. Do a few facing you guys. Just work it around, guys. Move around. Visualize someone's coming at you with a horizontal strike with an elongated weapon. So we're meeting force with force. Feel free to back up. Move around. If you're in a small space, just face your phone, your iPad, your camera. Just practice on the spot. The key is making sure you have a nice technical block. Good. Next one we're going to work on, guys, after we fix our uniforms, is going to be an angle block. Okay? So an angle block is what we're going to do. So we're just going to be in a fight stance. And we're going to do this one a little bit differently today, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to be in our fight stance, and we're just going to slide up into an angle block. Now the keys on this one is I want to make sure I have a nice angle on my bow. I don't want it straight up. I don't want it too vertical, okay? So a nice angle. So moving around. And so the tip is still down on this one, guys. Just moving around. Just keep working it. Make sure you're using lots of force, okay? That's going to develop those muscles and get them used to it. A couple more. Last one. We're going to switch sides, fix our uniforms, shake it out a little bit. Good. Now we're going to be in a left dominant, okay? So we're going to be moving around and angle block. Make sure you have a really nice angle. Start slow if you need to. I'm not so concerned about speed because that'll come. We want to focus on perfect technique every time. Perfect practice makes perfect, okay? We don't practice till we get it right. We practice until we don't get it wrong. You guys might hear the odd football quote from me. I'm a huge football fan. North American football. Good. I like to advance a little bit on these. You could just practice it out of a crane stance also. There's lots of variations. Do what's best for you. I like to mix it up though so that we diversify our training. Let's do 3 more. Last one. Make it our best. Good. Let's fix our uniforms. The next thing we're going to work on is we're going to do some high blocks and low blocks. Now we're going to do these blocks based off of Bo Kata 1, okay? So it's not going to be a low block when we come back, slide and scoop down. We're just going to be stepping into our high blocks, stepping into our low blocks, okay? So we want to make sure we keep that bow well above our head on the high blocks. We're going to be moving around. Keep that bow up nice and high. What happens if it's here, guys? If something's coming, this does me no good. I got to make sure that it's above my head, okay? So let's really focus on that. We're going to slide in as we make that block because we're trying to narrow the gap. And nice and strong, guys, okay? We should be firing up that bow with everything you got. You got to imagine someone's coming down at you like this with maybe some sort of elongated weapon, a pool cue, a baseball bat, something like that. So we got to meet it with force. And nice and strong every time. You practice hard and your muscle memory will just take over when it needs to. Switch sides and go. I'm sliding forward still, guys. Get off the couch and join me. Let's do 3 more. Last one. Good. Shake it out. We got 1 left to do for our warm-up. We're going to do low blocks based off how we do them in the kata. So the way we're going to do that one is we're just going to step forward and go down low. Now I'm going to limit my movement a little bit because this is really one that's done from the kata. So I'm just going to stay more static when I do this one because this is all about Bo Kata 1 today. So we're just going to be standing and block. Facing the other side. Your bow should be recoiling a little bit if you're using a rattan bow. A hardwood bow, it might be another story. Let's do 2 more. Switch sides. Now I know on Bo Kata 2 it's right-handed dominant. We still want to train equally on both sides, so we're going to work the left side too. There's no such thing as too many reps. Other side. Okay, we're going to do 5 more this way, and then that's going to finish off our warm-up, guys. Good job. Should be getting a light sweat going now, guys. That's our warm-up. Okay, guys, for this section of class is what we're going to do is we're going to be working on our overhead front strikes. Now, a really common error with our overhead front strikes is when we're first learning an ultimate bow, we just get really jacked up and we want to just hit with that bow really hard, but some of the mechanics aren't quite yet developed. So, is what we want to do, instead of just using brute force and coming down with our strike, I really want us to focus on sliding this backhand and using a little bit of finesse with our strike. Now, we're going to see some pros to doing it this way. So to start, I just want us in our right fighting stance, prepare that bow, and strike. Now, if you'll notice, when I slide that hand back, that bow is probably traveling an extra 3 or 4 inches, I would say, which is definitely to my benefit if I'm performing that side of strike. And you'll also notice that my posture looks a whole lot better than it would if I strike down like this and come down. It looks a lot more smooth, a lot more traditional looking when I can prepare that bow, do that strike, have my nice forward stance, and that hand slides back. So is what we're going to do to practice this one. We're not even going to be overly concerned with the footwork. I really want to focus on this back hand and my front hand snapping, okay? So my wrist is going to snap. So it's just like a martial arts punch. Normally when I punch, I twist that wrist. It's going to be the same principle with the bow. I'm going to twist that bow, but this hand slides back, and that's going to give me that extra 3 or 4 inches, and it makes my posture look a whole lot better, and it just very much polishes that strike. So we want to make sure we're incorporating that into our katas. So to start with this one, all we're going to do is face one side, prepare that bow, and we're going to come down slowly and slide that hand back. Slide the hand back. Slide the hand back. Really important, guys. It's a very common error that we don't slide that hand. And if you'll notice, my front hand, it's snapping every time. So this bow, it should be rested on my waist, and my hand should be about chest level, right where my patch is on my dobok. Okay, coming down. Again, okay, from a different angle, we're going to rest that bow here and strike. Don't worry about the footwork, guys. We're really focusing on getting our technique for sliding that hand. Okay, so you got to loosen up that hand just a little bit when we're doing that strike. Okay, we're going to go to the other side now. Make sure our feet are nice spaced apart. Rest it on my shoulder. Strike. Rest, strike. It should feel a lot more smooth when you're doing it this way. And it's actually less violent on your body when you do it this way. Only positives when we do it this way, guys. Let's do 3 more. And 3. Good. Now we're going to switch hands. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to go around the other way. Okay? So we're going to rest the bow, strike. Rest the bow. I notice I keep that elbow up. Strike. Now the left side might feel a little bit awkward. I find for me, the more often I practice that left side, the easier the right side becomes, the more natural it becomes to feel. I don't know if it's like that for everybody, but when I'm teaching my students locally, I always tell them, if you want to get good on the left side, you got to do double the reps that you do on the right side. Now, if you're left-handed, it might be a different story. Most people are right-handed though. And strike. Strike. Just having really nice technical motion, guys. I'm not looking to kill it right now. I'm focusing purely on having nice, solid technique. I'm going to go to this side. Just nice and easy. The speed comes, the power comes, okay? So at Yellow Chevron, we're very much just developing our muscle memory. And I can't talk enough about how important that is. Your body will do what it needs to once it has the muscle memory. We really want to focus on that. The next thing we're going to work on is our rib strikes. Now for the rib strikes, there's a few things that I really want us focusing on today. First thing is I want us to get in a really nice horse stance, okay? So quite often, and I even found this with myself, this is how I used to do my rib strikes. So even when I first started taking ultimate bow, I did have a black belt in Taekwondo. I had my second or third degree black belt at the time. But for some reason, when I was doing my overhead front strikes, I always would just turn into a scarecrow with my feet straight up or my knees straight up. So it took a fair bit of practice, but I want to get down to this point. I got to get my knees bent like I'm riding that horse, okay? So I'm going to tuck that bow under my arm, bring it up, other side. Notice I'm really focusing on getting that bow well above my head, okay? Eventually, your muscles in here will become very, very strong, and you'll be able to strike as hard as you want, and you won't feel it on your arms. So we're just going nice and easy, making sure that we focus on keeping that horse stance going, guys, okay? We're going to do a few more on this side, and I'm going to change directions. Okay? Facing this way. Make sure I keep that stance. Part of this drill is developing those muscles in my legs to make sure that they stay nice and strong, or that they get nice and strong. Up and over my head. I don't know if I've shared this story with you guys or not, but when I was first learning this drill, I came up, I clipped my head, and I did my strike. Fastest way ever to learn not how to do an overhead rib strike. Okay. Ever since then, I've done an excellent job of getting that bow well above my head. Now, if you guys notice, I'm not killing it. I'm just focusing on keeping my horse stance and having a nice smooth motion. That bow isn't rocking back and forth. It's staying perfectly horizontal every time. I'm going to face this way now. I'm going to tuck that bow under my right arm again. We're going to do a few more on this side. Just nice and easy. Going around. So if you're training with a heavier bow, this is going to be an amazing shoulder workout. Good. Now we're going to switch sides. So like I was saying before, the left side sometimes requires extra. Okay, so you always want to keep that in mind. Come around. Have a nice, solid horse riding stance. Get that bow nice and high. We're not worried about speed right now in any way. This is pure technique, this class, guys. Okay? Try and isolate your upper body just so that you can focus on getting a nice horse stance. Okay? And keep that bow on your left side. Nice and steady. My shoulders are getting pretty tired, guys. That's a great sign. There's no upper body workout that equals ultimate bow when you're going through your strikes and your kata. Since I've been training, my upper body has never been as strong. So I take Taekwondo, I teach it locally also, which is great for the lower body, but I tell you, once I started doing ultimate bow, my upper body got way stronger. Okay guys, the next one that we're going to work on is our 4-point combo. So some of the things to watch for when we're doing a 4-point combo is we want to get good hip action going, and we want to avoid bobbing our head. Now, is what I mean for the bobbing your head is when I come down with that strike, the last thing I want to do is start going like this, okay? Because it's a very hard habit to break. Now, I'm exaggerating it, but it happens that you get that little twitch. So we want to avoid that, okay? So when I'm bringing that bow down, it's coming down, it's hitting the meaty part of my arm. I want to keep it as level as possible. I want to keep it as straight as possible. We're going to break it down nice and slow, and we're going to start focusing on using our hips, okay? We're going to start in a right fighting stance. We're just going to go up, down, side, side. Okay, now I want to focus using my hips, even moving on the up strike. Up, down, side, side. Notice how I move my hips forward. Up, down, side, side. The strike is much stronger when I use my hips. Okay? And I'm twisting. It's like dancing. Martial arts and dancing are very, very closely related. Some people laugh at me when I say that, but you have no idea. They have no idea. We do. Okay, so up, down, side, side, up, down, side, side, up, down, side, side. I make sure that I get that bow up into my armpit every time. You hear a nice little uniform snap. I don't know if the mic's picking that up or not, but I'm not going very hard, and it's still, you can hear it quite well. So again, I'm in a right dominant on this side. I'm going to focus on using those hips every time. I'm not going fast. I'm really just focusing on perfect bow placement. I pretend that there's a little dime here, and it's unmovable, or a grape, whatever you want to imagine. And you're striking it from all different angles, from all 4 points. Coming up, and then down, side, side. It's the same spot I'm hitting every time. Now, is what happens sometimes is when we do this strike, it comes down, down, side, side. So I actually didn't hit my imaginary dime every time. So the imaginary dime is pretty well down the center line of my body, and I'm striking it every time, okay? So that's something that we should focus on. We don't want to just be striking like this, because actually if I was sparring with a partner, it maybe hit the outside of their shoulders, when the bunkai application for this would be hitting someone under the chin, then the top of the head, then the side, and then the other side. So we're going to switch stances. We're going to get in a left fighting stance. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to go nice and slow. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice I'm still using my hips. It is harder on the left side if you haven't been doing enough practice reps. So we want to make sure that we keep that bow nice and horizontal and under control. If you guys notice, I'm not going fast. I'm making sure that that bow gets placed exactly where it needs to be. Perfect practice, right? Let's do 3 more. Good. I think that was 3. And that was our traditional striking. Okay guys, our next section, we're going to be breaking down some common errors on Bo Kata 1 and just a little bit of Bo Kata 1 review in general. So we're going to be going through the whole kata today. We're just going to be breaking it down point by point and really focusing on perfecting our technique with Bo Kata 1. So Bo Kata 1, first kata that we're learning. There's quite a bit going on for when we're first learning. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult, so we're going to go through it step by step. So when we first start our kata, it's going to be in a nice attention stance, bow. Now in this part, I always want to start nice and strong. So the bow should actually, like I said, if you're having a rattan bow, you should see it actually wobbling on the ends, okay? So we're not going to go with insane power to start this one, but we do want to have really nice technique, okay? So the first thing we're doing is going to return to our left, angle block. We're going to come around. Now when I come around, if you guys notice my footwork, I do my angle block, and I don't come down on a straight line. Okay, I don't want to be walking a tightrope. So, be here, I'm going to come across and I'm going to do my angle block. I'm going to come around, and if you'll notice, my footwork is shoulder width apart. Okay, another overhead rib strike, clearing my head, 4-point, thrust, hop. Now I want to make sure I have nice depth on this thrust. Quite often on this thrust, and I was a victim of it myself. I didn't have enough depth. I would be here. We want to be there, okay? So we're going to look forward, and we're going to step into our uppercut. I'm going to pull the bow back, sweep it across, push block, resting it on my shoulder, overhead front strike. From there, I'm going to cross over, so my left foot goes over my right foot, and I go into my uppercut. From there, my right foot, which is in the back, is going to step forward as I get my bow ready for my strike. Thrust. No key up there. Bring the bow up well over my head. Overhead knee strike. I bring my foot up and across. I do a half circle. Overhead rib strike. Double rib strike. Now when I do my double rib strike, I make sure I'm still twisting my hips, okay? Come back for one more rib strike. Now this is a defining part of the kata. I'm going to take my left foot and I'm going to step out. I want to really rip into that rib strike. So it's going to look like this. Nice and strong, okay? Now the next part, my son has tagged it as the uppercut sandwich. So what we do is we do an uppercut in between two thrusts. So off my back foot, I'm going to step, thrust. Now I'm going to do my uppercut, one more thrust. Okay, I'm just going to reposition myself so you guys can see. Key up, overhead knee strike. Take one step forward, one step across. I'm going to go a half circle, overhead rib strike, double rib strike. I want to make sure that I'm twisting those hips. Overhead rib strike. From there, I'm going to take a half step, rib strike. I'm going to step out, reverse thrust. Now on this part too, watch my left foot. This foot right here, okay? All I'm going to do is I'm going to step out and do a rib strike. Now, I could strike here and go like that, but biomechanically, it doesn't work as well. So I did my reverse thrust. I'm going to step out, rib strike. That feels a lot better. It feels a lot more natural for my body. I'm going to come up, overhead knee strike, bring the bow up, step forward, overhead front strike. Now, when I do my overhead front strike, guys, I'm sliding that hand back, okay? I'm going to step into an uppercut in a cat stance. Now I want to get a nice deep thrust. Up. I want to keep that bow nice and horizontal. I'm going to take my right foot, step back, high block. Take my right foot, step forward, low block. I'm going to drop a knee as I'm bringing that bow back. High line strike, cock it back, low line. Now notice my feet, my foot positioning is not going to change on this. I'm going to step up into my rib strike. 4-point, I'm going to use my hips again. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to come down strong and finish. Bow. So, let's go through that one more time. We're going to go through it with a little bit more speed, a little bit more power. So I'm going to get my ready position. Attention, bow. Ready? nice and strong. Angle block. Coming around, check your footwork, make sure your shoulder width. Reverse rib strike. Overhead rib strike. 4-point. Front thrust. Hop! Looking forward. Uppercut. Push block. Lots of power on the push block. Overhead front strike. Make sure I slide that hand. Uppercut. Thrust. Overhead knee strike. Foot comes up. Foot comes across. Half circle. Overhead rib strike. Double rib strike. Overhead rib strike. Now this is another defining part of that kata. Take my left foot, step out, rib strike. Uppercut sandwich. Thrust. Uppercut. Thrust. Hop. Overhead knee strike. Just going to reposition myself for you guys. Foot comes up, foot comes across. Half circle. Overhead rib strike. Double rib strike. Make sure you twist those hips. Overhead rib strike. I'm also in a nice deep horse stance. Take a half step forward, rib strike. Look behind, reverse thrust. Now I want to step out with that foot. Step out, rib strike. Overhead knee strike. Bring the bow up and overhead front strike. Slide that hand back. Uppercut. Hop. Thrust. Nice deep stance. Step back, high block. Step forward, low block. Drop a knee, high line strike, cock it back, low line strike. Rib strike, 4-point, ready. And that's a breakdown on Bo Kata 1. Okay guys, for our finishing challenge, we're going to do some oil wells. It's going to be students versus Sensei Nathan. I'd like to hear your guys' high scores, so let me know if you beat me or if you've improved or if what your number was. I'd love to hear about that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for 30 seconds and we're going to be doing oil wells, okay? So the way that I do them is we're going to lay down. I'm going to set my timer on the side. And all we're going to do is we're going to rest our hands underneath our backside. We're going to try and keep our feet as straight as possible. We're going to go down and up. Okay, we're just going to go back and forth like that for 30 seconds. I'm going to start my timer, and you guys let me know if you beat my score. I got to turn my volume up so we can hear us. And ready, and go. It's my timer. I think I got 16. It's not bad. Not bad. It's a great workout. Okay guys, to finish out class, we're going to do a little bit of a cool down. We had a really good upper body workout today, so we're going to really cool down our arms, okay? So what we're going to do is just do some shoulder circles. Nice and easy. I'm going to go both ways. Back and forth or side to side, however you want to do it. Good. Stretch out my triceps a little bit. And the other side. So we're almost into November at the time of filming this, and it's getting quite cool here. We've got some snow, but it's melted, and then it came back, and then it melted again. So we're just waiting for that winter blast to hit here. Talking about the weather is a very Canadian thing to do, so I tend to do that a fair bit. I'm just going to do some hip rotations. Good. Now we're just going to sit down. We're just going to stretch our legs out a little bit. We're going to start with a butterfly. Okay, we're just going to go nice and easy. Just butterflying back and forth. That's good. It's always nice to just cool down with a nice relaxing stretch like this. It just kind of gets the heart rate down a little bit. And for me, it kind of feels almost a little bit meditative when I'm doing it, because it's just a nice way to kind of reflect on my workout, I guess you could say. Okay, so I'm going to spread my legs. My legs aren't too stretched out today, so it's not that great of a stretch. But that's not important. The most important part is that I can feel it. Okay, so I'm just going to go down gently and hold. I should feel that in my hamstrings. I'm just going to hold it for a few seconds. This is really just meant to cool down. I don't want to fatigue my muscles too much. I'm going to go to the other side, down and hold. Nice and easy. I tell you guys, when I do these workouts, I sweat like a beast. So this uniform I wear is called a fighter's dobok, which is an extremely lightweight uniform. So some of the judo gis or karate gis or even the taekwondo ones, you can get like a really heavyweight material, but that's just way too hot for me. So I go with this fighter's dobok, which is great for if you like to spar and that sort of thing, or if you sweat a lot like I do. So if you're ever training and looking for a dobok or a gi, you want one that's really lightweight. For taekwondo, it's called a fighter's dobok. For karate, I'm sure they have something similar. It's all a matter of preference. Some people really like the heavy ones. I like the lightweight ones. Good. So we're just going to kind of go back and forth just a few times. Oh, that feels good. I'm going to take my foot. I'm just going to pull that back, just stretching out my quad. I'm going to switch sides. Nice and easy stretch. There we go. That was a pretty good cool down. Let's fix our uniforms before we bow out. Attention, bow. Thanks for training with me, guys. Take care.